Woj reporting that the Lakers have engaged the Pelicans in trade talks for Anthony Davis. One key asset the Lakers have is that 4th overall pick, which Woj reports could be used to entice another team to become a three-way deal. We've been waiting to see what could happen with AD, and for more, let's welcome in NBA insider Adrian Wojnarowski. And Woj, it appears trade talks getting very serious here. Let's start with the Lakers. What are they trying to offer the Pelicans for AD?
Well, as little as possible, and that's what a negotiation is. But I do believe this. I think the Lakers have enough to get a deal done for Anthony Davis, but it's going to be a question of how much are they willing to give up. Will they add a Kyle Kuzma to a bigger package? Will they include future first-round picks beyond this 4th overall pick in next Thursday's NBA draft? But, when these two teams engaged prior to the trade deadline, there was a different general manager in New Orleans. New Orleans was never going to do that trade, but they're serious now about moving Anthony Davis, getting maximum value for him, and they would like, in a perfect world, to have that done ahead of next Thursday's NBA draft.
Woj, hang tight. We'll get more on Kyrie Irving in just a few minutes, but let's get it back over to Gritty and the guys. More on AD, the Lakers, the Pelicans, and maybe that third team that could be involved.
Yeah, I mean, this is such a fascinating thing. We're talking about a fast-moving. Woj set the world on fire. Yeah, Woj bomb yesterday. Everyone was reacting to it so quickly. What do you make of this? The notion that Kuzma might be part of the holdup in all of this. Karan, what does that make you think?
Back in 2003-2004 season, I got traded for Shaquille O'Neal. It's business. It's the way that it goes. And if I'm able to acquire a Kyle Kuzma with LeBron window at 34, 35, Kevin Durant out of the equation going forward for the foreseeable future, I'm sorry, I do this deal. And Kuzma is one of my favorite players on that roster, but I have to get the deal done and trend in the right direction right now.
LeBron James is 35 years old. How much longer does that window exist? Like, if you need to have Kyle Kuzma involved in that trade, you need to do that in order to get Anthony Davis to LA. And I don't see this being a three-way scenario. I see either the Pelicans dealing with the Lakers or the Pelicans dealing with the Boston Celtics directly. It's not going to be a three-way trade.
Well, we're going to get Woj back in a minute because it's going to tie itself all into Kyrie, and we'll see what he can tell us about all of that. But that 4th pick is an interesting one because if you're New Orleans right now, the notion that they're re-engaging in these conversations, they want to get it done this quickly, the fact that the Lakers all of a sudden are trying to hold Kyle Kuzma out, it's sort of, I think, a little bit a window into where the leverage is falling. And the leverage seems to be sliding away from New Orleans, it feels like, by the day. It feels like the longer this thing goes on, and maybe Rich Paul's comments about how, look, he's going one way or another to the Lakers are really working against New Orleans in this.
I would agree with you wholeheartedly.
Yeah, and I had a conversation with Rich Paul back in February, and he stated on the record, look, anybody outside of the Los Angeles Lakers and the New York Knicks at the time, it'll be a rental situation for anybody engaged. And if Rich says that, he means what he say, and you saw him on the cover of Sports Illustrated. Like, he's a guy that means and stands on his word.
I get that. The only thing is that sometimes people's decisions change because the circumstances change. Paul George was going to be a Laker until he wasn't. And Kawhi Leonard, we think he's going to be a Clipper. Maybe he won't. Maybe he decides to stay in Toronto. I know you don't think he will. I don't think he will either. But all these things are yet to be seen. Let me just ask you this. If the Lakers trade away the majority of their young players, but they put together LeBron, AD, and whatever they can put around them, is that a team that could win the Western Conference next year?
It's a team that can go far. I don't think it's a team that can win it, but it's a team that can go far. I think they could be maybe a 4 seed, which I think is talented. But also don't forget about this, Greeny. You're talking about two players who are under the same umbrella. They're both under Clutch Sports. So you can't really relate this to a PG-13 kind of situation because, they work together. They're talking about this.
Yeah.
This is what they want. This has been planned, and that's okay, too. Teams plan out what they want. Players can plan out what they want as well.
This is a new normal in the NBA. That's the Rich Paul part of this. We'll talk about it. But just on its face, they trade away the young pieces. It's LeBron, AD, and whatever they can put together around it. Can that team win the West?
Anything is possible. The Western Conference and the NBA championship trophy is wide open for next season.
Yeah. The injury to Durant throws that wide open.
Changes everything. It is wide open.
All right, that brings us to the other piece of this, the guy I think should be teaming up with LeBron. Laura and Woj, what do you have on Kyrie?
Yeah, we'll get to that in just 1 second. I do want to get Woj quickly on the Pelicans and the AD talks with the Celtics, because that would be a one-year rental, and we've talked a lot about what's gone on with that and how it's worked for Toronto with Kawhi. Why are the Celtics, though, interested potentially in that one-year rental with AD?
Because certainly the stature of Anthony Davis, a player of that caliber, if you have a chance to acquire him, you're going to exhaust every possibility to see what a package would look like that maybe wouldn't completely compromise your future. There is great risk in trading for Anthony Davis, but I think in Boston, especially with Kevin Durant now out next season, does it give them a chance to re-engage with Kyrie Irving and sell him on an Anthony Davis partnership in Boston, which is what they hoped would happen all along, given that if Kyrie goes to Brooklyn or would go to the Knicks, he could have Kevin Durant there hypothetically, but he wouldn't have him next season. But Boston believes in its organization, the environment that players like to play there, and they think they could sell Anthony Davis on a future. But there's no question Anthony and Rich Paul have done a good job of depressing the market, getting some other teams to hold back on offers because of the fear that it would be a one-year rental and he would walk to the Lakers. That's what their job is to do. They've done a good job of that so far. But Danny Ainge is fairly undeterred on this one.